Okay, this happens maybe once a week in my world. A fellow marketer or a brand owner will ask some version of this question. Do you think I should be on Substack? What do you think about getting onto Substack? Are you guys seeing any traction on Substack? And I think this conversation with Jen Gurecki is the best answer I have to those questions. I follow a handful of Substacks. I scan some. Sometimes I'm just there for the pictures, but some I read religiously, and Jen's is absolutely one of them. Now, if you're in the outdoor industry, then you know who Jen is. But for the rest of you, she is the owner of Coalition Snow. Coalition is the only women-owned and operated ski and snowboard manufacturer in the world. And she is a lifelong provocateur, but everything she does is rooted in justice and raising up the underdog. She's also a true entrepreneur. On top of Coalition, she runs a social enterprise called Zawadisha and a sexual wellness brand called Après Delight, and she leads snowboarding and bike tours all over the world. And I'll link to all of these in the show notes. In this episode, she walks us through her experiments with bringing her business to Substack, how she uses it as an individual and as a brand, what works and what doesn't. And we also had the chance to go a little deeper and talk about another campaign that's been hugely successful for Coalition. It's their annual Pay What You Can sale. Jen talks about why it works so well and how to run a sale to actually build your brand when so often markdowns are brand damaging. Jen loves to ruffle feathers, and she's got some well-considered hot takes, and I just think you're going to take so much away from this conversation. And one more really important thing before we dive in. Jen has spent her career championing women and those in poverty and those who are struggling. And just yesterday, as I was about to record this intro, I opened her weekly Substack and learned that she's been diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. Obviously, that's a huge life change, especially for an entrepreneur who's used to being so self-sufficient. We'll share ways that you can support Jen in the show notes, and as you can imagine, she'll be her unfiltered self sharing her journey on Substack. And I really encourage you to subscribe. That's one way to help. Here's our conversation. We've known each other now, I want to say, for maybe 4 years, or maybe it was 5 even. Early pandemic, I think we were connected probably by Janine Pesh, who's been on the podcast, or Amanda Goad. And we did a live Q&A because you were doing this amazing thing called Inside Voices, where you were gathering people during COVID to talk about how our businesses were weathering the pandemic. And it was early days, March 2020. We didn't know what was happening. We had no idea what was about to come then. Yeah. And maybe that's similar to what's happening right now. The world is changing in dramatic ways, and we have no idea what it's going to look like in 5 years. Yeah. So you can be our prophet today.
Okay.
No pressure.
Cool.
Let's dive in. Jen, you are, in my mind, such a classic entrepreneur. You have multiple projects. You have a social enterprise that's been going for quite a while, an outdoor brand, a sexual wellness brand, a magazine, and I would say increasingly a media empire. You speak and you're an activist who gives words to things that I know I'm feeling and I think a lot of us are feeling. But maybe introduce yourself. How do you define yourself?
I think I'm the type of person who realized long ago that service is the rent you pay for life. And I believe that you can do that through for-profit ventures. I don't think that you only can provide service voluntarily or through nonprofits. So I've figured out how to bring my passion, dedication to social justice into the business world, and everything I do sort of revolves around that. That's what I do.
Yeah, and you do a lot of service. You're, really advocating for a lot of folks, but you're doing it in such interesting ways. Explain to us really how you've made your living for the last decade or so.
I mean, let's be honest, I barely have made a living in the last decade. I started a hard goods brand. I manufacture skis and snowboards. So if we want to talk about making a living, don't do what I did. That is the truth there. I mean, honestly, how I've made a living is I pieced together a lot of different things that excite me, and that I think sort of build resilience into like the larger brand. So yeah, I manufacture skis and snowboards. We're the only women-owned and operated ski and snowboard manufacturer in the world. And friends, don't try to be number two because it's not worth it. I'm going to do that right there. Like, call me first, please. We launched a magazine early on. COVID ended up sort of tanking that. So we don't publish a magazine, but I have really leaned in hard to a newsletter that we publish, which is now on Substack. Lots of little projects from Operate a Light, which is the sexual wellness brand that you referenced. A few years ago, we launched our Far Out trips and tours. So I guide tours around the world, skiing in Japan, cycling in Kenya. And again, it all just comes back to, really connecting people around adventure, and these people being, I mean, if I have to say it, like, not cis straight white dudes, kind of everyone else except for that group of people. They have so much there's so much available to them.
They're fine.
And I don't understand them. So I really, like, from a business standpoint, I can't really serve them well because I literally don't understand them. So I just focus on what I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Women for the most part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And adventure, which is so central. You are creating all these businesses. You're the kind of mastermind behind creating these tours, these hard goods, all of these products, but you're also driving the marketing. Like, you are most of the business, and you're doing it in many genius ways, which we're going to talk about. What was the first thing you marketed when you think back?
Well, and you mean like product wise?
Yeah. Maybe even before that.
Oh, you'll love that. Okay.
Oh, great.
My first business in my 20s was called Pantyline Productions, and I hand screen printed underwear, and with the slogan, "The only bush I trust is my own." And I was featured in Bust magazine. Like, I would go to like artisan fairs, like at the very early days. I had an Etsy shop when Etsy was actually like super cool. So like right at the beginning of that whole like makers movement, I was there. And it was obviously during the time when Bush was our president and we were going to a war. And I made panties that said that. I also made cute panties that had a little bike on the back and it said "Ride Me," little fork and knife on the front that said "Bon Appetit." So that was the very first thing I marketed. And that was pre-social media.
So how did you get something out into the world in those dark ages before social media?
That was fantastic. It was absolutely incredible. Just going to a lot of the larger artisan fairs and magazine, like writers would be there. So again, when you're at the beginning of something, you just kind of get in. Like now I don't think you could do it, but back then you could. And I sold at all these shows.
So was it just press? Like press discovered you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a way to get in front of press now without being on social media, or do they totally rely on what's viral to get their sources?
I think I think the press could find you through Substack. Whether or not we want to call Substack social media, particularly with their platform, I think that is probably a little bit up for debate. But I think that if you have a really compelling Substack, the press can find you there without having to be on traditional social platforms.
Yeah. Well, maybe let's jump right in and talk about Substack. That is the topic that I'm really interested in right now. It's where I consume a ton of information. I am trying to be off social media as much as possible, but I'm loving this renaissance of sort of long form sharing. So I would say at this point, whether we know it or not, most of us are probably following a handful of Substacks. I have some that I love. Yours is absolutely one of them.
Thanks.
I love Austin Kleon, my friend Jess Jan's Blackbird Spy Plane, just to find out what white men are thinking about fashion.
I follow that one too. So they confuse me sometimes, to be honest, but I still follow along. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be confusing. It's a whole new dialect, really. and I think of it almost, it reminds me of the days that we all blogged, which I love. And it's a way to monetize that without having to get, brands to sponsor you necessarily. And I think initially Substack is designed to be individuals writing, but we're really seeing that shift, and we're seeing brands start to use it in interesting ways.
Yeah.
Tell me what's happening on Substack, and how did you start?
Yeah. So I had been following what was happening on Substack for a long time. So I had an account. I was subscribed to different publications. And I would say for a few years, I was thinking to myself, like, I want to be on Substack. And I did it. I launched a personal Substack. So it's not affiliated with my brands. I do have two. I have one called Lady Parts, which is for Coalition Snow. And then I have one called Redefining Radical, which is my personal one. I launched Redefining Radical in the summer of 2023. And I was like, I don't know. Are people going to be interested in this? Is anyone going to pay? And it's not that I went into it expecting everyone to pay, but certainly when you put that much time into something, and when you're like me and you're trying to piece together things and think about a world where maybe you don't live in the United States anymore, remote work would be super cool. That was certainly part of it. So I launched that, my personal one, in 2023. And really got a hang for the platform, and then launched my business, Lady Parts Substack, which Lady Parts had been an email that we had sent through our email service provider for years and years and years and years. So it was an existing newsletter with a pretty consistent following, consistent tone, vibe. People knew what to expect. And then I migrated that over to Substack actually just last July. And so I've been getting used to what it's like to be a brand on Substack. And I've been following other brands, and I have lots of opinions about that as well.
Oh, well, let's dive into that. But first, I have some logistical questions, which is, I'm sure a lot of folks who are listening who have active, say, Klaviyo or MailChimp lists are wondering, one, what are the merits of moving over to Substack for a brand-owned email list? Two, how easy or hard is it? Like, can you just port over your whole mail list? And does it convert?
Yeah, so I would say that you still need to have an email service provider, because technically you are not allowed to market it. You're not allowed to market on Substack. So when you think about traditional e-commerce newsletters, you need to have an ESP. So we still use Klaviyo, and I want to use that because I want all the data that tells me, was that email good and did you make money?
Yeah.
Because you don't get that from Substack. So Klaviyo has way better analytics. And it's, obviously what you can, insert pop-ups and various things onto your website. So I would never recommend that someone completely go away from that unless they've never had an ESP, right? But if you're already in it, you need to keep it. The idea of going to Substack is that you are doing something above and beyond marketing. This requires someone to have a voice, and to be talking about things that aren't about selling a product. And it is as easy as going in, like, I downloaded my 180-day opens, and I downloaded the file and I uploaded it to Klaviyo. And you have to acknowledge that these people opted in, which they were active subscribers. I didn't import over anyone who wasn't actively reading my emails at that time. And I imported it over, and it took like an hour for that. If you're importing small things, it takes a few seconds. Larger things takes a minute. And then they were all there.
Huh. Yeah. So this was really, you had two aspects of your coalition newsletter. One was really brand focused, gen focused, opinion, and one was product. Like a lot of brands have. I think a lot of brands that do it well have, in their marketing cadence, they're like, this is going to be a product email and this is going to be a brand email. Mm-hmm. So you just happen to have like different kind of personas or voices for them, and you stopped doing the brand email on Klaviyo and moved it over to Substack.
Correct. Yeah. So currently we still do all the marketing emails go through Klaviyo, but that brand email, lady parts, is on Substack.
Okay. So why? What was the benefit?
Well, there's so many things, and I'm still deciding how I feel about it. So, I mean, I love Substack for a lot of reasons, but in terms of like as a brand, I'm still deciding. I really wanted people to be able to interact and engage. So the idea that you could leave comments meant a lot to me, that you could like something. I've been trying for a long time to get our Instagram following out of Meta, because I don't want to give Zuck my money. And I think the algorithm is awful. And I think all of the breakdowns and how they monitor hate speech, like all the things don't make me feel good about being on that platform. Then we have TikTok, which are we going to have TikTok or not? Like what's happening? No one knows. So I've been like, I've wanted to have a way where people could still have an app or not, comment, like, do all the things. And I wanted to use that as a tool for community building so that you would be invited to leave comments. I would respond. So I really liked that part of it. And then certainly I liked the idea that you could monetize it, because I put a lot of time into my newsletters and they are unique. Whether you like them or not is up for you to decide, but they are certainly different. And I, again, think that, there's no reason why you shouldn't monetize carefully curated and like heavily crafted content. Like I spend a lot of time on the emails. And when you're spending that much time every single week, I would, I like that. And it's just cool to like give people perks and stuff too, so you get, as a subscriber, depending on the level, you get access to different things than free subscribers. So it's interesting tests as well. Lots of tests you can run.
This is interesting to me. It's making me think of a couple of things. So the first thing that comes up is, we all know, those of us that have done email marketing, we all know that you do a brand email, it might build affinity or engagement. It rarely converts nearly as well as that like newness, we had this new product or this new colorway or, seasonal launches. So you never expect those emails to convert that well anyway. This is almost taking it and saying like, we don't even care if it converts from a sales perspective. We're monetizing it in a different way. We're saying, instead of paying for product, you're paying for content, which also sort of reminds me of what I saw a few brands doing a couple years ago in the Web3 space, where they were sort of saying, like, we know we have to sell this product and we know you need this product, but we don't want to drive over consumption. So we're going to get you to buy into this membership and buy an NFT so we can make money through a different avenue. You're not consuming. We can feel a little bit better about it. I don't think that proposition ever really worked because there really was no value in an NFT, but this is almost a better version of that. It's like, not only do we sell hard goods, we sell amazing thinking and content. Is that how you think about it?
I do, yes. And the thing, like, Coalition is a really unique business in the sense that we manufacture hard goods. I am selling a product that on the low end is $499 and on the high end is $799. And all of that will likely go up thanks to tariffs. So we can, anticipate that whenever this gets published, we'll see. But there's a lot of people who want to support Coalition and will not buy a pair of skis every year. There's a lot of people who want to support Coalition and will not buy skis ever because they don't ski. And that's something that I learned after all these years, is people are so here for the brand and our message, regardless of whether they ski or not. And I just even got a comment on our TikTok profile, like on one of the posts the other week, but I don't even ski, but this is my favorite ski page. So I think, so yes, to me, I was like, I know that there's all these people out there who want to financially support us, but they don't want to buy a new sweatshirt when it comes out, or they don't want those things. So they're happy to put $5 a month behind the newsletter because they want to see us be successful and they want to show their support.
Yeah. So what happened? You moved everything over.
Mm-hmm.
What happened from a business perspective? What happened from an engagement and a numbers perspective? How do you define it?
See, that's what I'm still trying to figure out. That because the analytics in Substack are not robust at all. So I can see sort of over time unsubscribes. And I can see like if a particular post brought me new subscribers, but that's sort of it. You're not really seeing analytics around click-through rates. Like I have to go into my Shopify to see the traffic that was driven from Substack. So I know that's happening. Like I have that to show me that on Shopify, but I'm not really sure. I will say that we had like after that initial upload that I made, we've lost a few thousand subscribers, but I also think that's normal because these are, like all of a sudden you're on this new thing, you're getting this new thing. And the thing that I can't correlate is like how many people unsubscribed from Lady Part Substack, but are still subscribed to the email marketing. Like there's all these things that I can't quite figure out. And the reason why I'm not so worried about losing those people is it's like way less than 10%. It's like a few percent. It's not, it's not like half the list went away or something. But I'm still trying to figure out what success on Substack looks like, particularly because it is so much time that I put into it. And so one of the easiest ways to look at that would be like, well, how many paid subscribers do you have? But if you follow Substack and you follow other writers, you'll see that a lot of writers talk about how they have these huge followings on Substack, but the percentage of paid subscribers is very small. So I think the Substack goal would be to organically grow your following in Substack. So like get the Substack going, import your people, but then grow it with people who are there just for that content and figure out how that really, how you really speak to them. And that's how you could monetize your Substack. Or you say, I don't care what happens on Substack. I'm going to do Substack because every trendy brand is doing Substack. And we're just going to put some stuff out there. And really all that we're going to look at is still look at our sales.
Yeah. What do you think is a good percentage of subscribers? Like when you look at, or you've been reading about other Substacks, how many of your subscribers do you expect to be paid subscribers?
Oh, I mean, it's like under 10. But I feel like that's for everyone. Like even people who have, 200,000 subscribers on Substack, they have like 400 paid subscribers or something. Yeah. Like it's not a lot. And so I think that's where you're also seeing people are using Substack to get book deals. People are using Substack for sponsorship. So brands are starting to sponsor Substacks now. So you'll see that too. But I think like if a brand is going into this thinking like I'm going to make so much money off my Substack because look at all these people who buy things for me, that's not the case. I wouldn't go into it like that at all. And honestly, like if you're a brand that drives a lot of revenue and you, like if Substack isn't an important driver of revenue for you, if you're going to have paid subscriptions, you should be giving that money away. You should be like mutual aid, nonprofit, like you should be doing that. I don't give it away because I use that to pay myself for the incredible amount of time that I spend on it. And it's just not heaps of money, but, and we donate in other ways, but I think that would really be a way for a brand to do it, is to give to mutual aid causes. Yeah. And then, well, I have more thought.
Okay. I'm going to go one more question on this and then we'll go further, which is, if you think about the revenue that you would have normally gotten from a brand email, not product related, like a typical Lady Parts email before you move to Substack, would you say the revenue you're making from Substack subscriptions is more, less, equal to what you would have been making off of those branded emails on Klaviyo?
Well, I don't think I made a lot of money off those emails on Klaviyo, and I send multiple other emails a week, and that's where I expect to make my money. So I'm still making money through Klaviyo. My open rates are super strong. I meet my revenue goals for it. So like that's what I'm looking at. But Lady Parts never sold anything, ever. So it always had a high open rate, and sometimes it would have a high click-through rate because I would put other like articles and things for people to look at. But it never sold anything. So it's funny, it didn't result in any revenue. So I'm not missing out anything, but I don't I don't think that you can replace Substack. You can't replace your ESP with Substack if you're used to selling products, because again, Substack specifically prohibits sales and marketing. And I think as Substack begins to look at what's happening, they may or may not come in and start to regulate that, or maybe they'll just be like, fuck it, we want the money. I don't know. But I am seeing a lot of what I would call brand emails that to me, I'm like, this is not interesting. This should be this should be through your ESP. I don't understand what you're doing here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great segue to my next question, which is, what do you think are the ingredients of a strong Substack? And what do you think specifically are the ingredients of a strong Substack that is tied to a brand? It's not trying to turn your Substack into a marketing email.
Yeah.
What is it?
I think, well, you just have to have a perspective. And this is where it could be really difficult, because not all brands have perspectives on the world, right? They like to be relatively agnostic because they don't want to get themselves into any hot water about anything, right? But I think that people are going to want to see that you have some sort of perspective, whether it's that you are advocating for the environment, or there's something political or human rights, or whatever it is, telling the stories of people, whatever it is that you're doing, just having a perspective and showing people that you're kind of like, who's writing the email? Are you a real person, or are you like a marketing team sitting around a table? I think that type of Substack won't really perform well, because people will be like, well, what's the benefit here? This is just the same old shit that I've been getting in the ESP. So just like save that for your regular marketing. But I think like things that brands could do, certainly behind the scenes, anything that you might put in a blog, you could put in a Substack, but please don't use AI to write it. So if you're using AI for your blogs, please don't do that, because everyone can tell, and it's awful, and it makes me sad. And Substack is a place to celebrate writers. So can you please just actually fucking write something? Like, write well, please. Please, like, for the love of writing, just please don't ruin it. It's like, we can't write anything real on social media anymore. It just all has to be this like clickbait shit. And then like blogs are just AI driven. For the love of writing, please don't destroy this for us. But,
Amen.
Right? But I think, yeah, like behind the scenes perspectives of the founder or the team. You could even, one thing that I will be doing more of in Lady Parts is featuring other women-owned businesses to tell their story. Yeah, and I would say the way that I do my brand Substack, Lady Parts, isn't necessarily what most people would do, but it's what I've always done. So Lady Parts is literally what I'm thinking that week, and it may or may not have anything to do with skiing or snowboarding or the outdoors, and most of the time it doesn't, but that's why people like it, because I'm one of the only people in the outdoor industry that talks about real things. And so people are able to sort of bring these worlds together in my email, and that's why they read it. But I understand, I'm not advocating that everybody write a type of email like I do. But you definitely need to have authenticity. You need to have a perspective. You need to be saying something different than what you would say in a traditional email. It should be high quality content. It should take you some time. And there's something, the other thing that I'm seeing is a lot of roundups too. Let me just list a bunch of links. Now, some of them, like Roxanne Gay, every week she sends out her roundup. I love it. So I think you can absolutely do that, but I wouldn't have every single email just be like a roundup of links, or like, here's all the products we're shopping. You have to really come up with something more clever than that.
Yeah. So a distinct perspective. I would say it has to come from an individual. It can't come from a generic, faceless team. Mm-hmm. And the perspective, from what I've seen, your perspective is often political, which I find fascinating. A perspective doesn't have to be political. Like, it doesn't have to be divisive. It can be. I follow interior designers, the team at Schoolhouse Electric, a Portland brand that I love, their design team. They've started 2 different Substacks, and they're just sharing design tips and behind the scenes looks.
Yep.
So a human behind it, have a perspective, and you can't be selling something.
Yeah.
And the quality of the content has to be incredible. It has to be worth your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, maybe you can sell things. So again, I'm seeing some brands where I'm like, that's product in there. But, and that, like, I was kind of excited to see, like, even some of the brands that I buy things from, I was like, oh, cool. I can't wait to see what they do on Substack. Then I was like, boring.
So you were disappointed once you saw them come out with more of a sales push.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think I think your readers will feel that way too.
Yeah. Well, because what are they adding?
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Instagram's already that. You know,
Yeah.
Instagram at one point was a fun behind the scenes, and now it's not.
Yep.
So, you know, if we want to see influencers hawking your product, we can do that anywhere. Give us something new.
Yeah.
You have your two Substacks. One, Lady Parts, is in support of Coalition. The other, Redefining Radical, is your own just general personal views. How much overlap is there between them, and how do you decide what lives on one versus the other?
Yeah, that's actually been hard for me, and it's something that I'm still working on. I made the decision a few months ago that my personal newsletter would be primarily paywalled, and so you would not be able to read it unless you were a subscriber. And I share some spicy things, like hot takes, opinions that I only want a small group of people to read. See that, like, I think this is a fascinating thing about Substack. Part of having paywalled or paid, you can only read it if it's paid, is that you don't want everyone to read it. You only want your supporters to read it. So I'm okay that thousands of people aren't reading that post. I literally just want this small group of people to read it, because there's a lot of stuff happening in the world right now, and I'm using my Redefining Radical to sort of think through out loud what's happening. So for example, last week, the last one I wrote, I talked about my surprise in having empathy for January 6th rioters, which I was thinking about this for weeks, and I was like, oh my God, this is so hectic. And then I thought, I can't be the only one who's thinking this. So let me write it, because I think other people might be thinking about these things too. That's not something I would share on Lady Parts. I don't think that I would. But one thing that I will be working on, because now our season's coming to an end, I will be working on having a lot more clarity on topics between the two, because that has been something that I'm struggling with, because I'm the one who writes both. And I really want Lady Parts it's not a salesy email. I'm not trying to sell product, nor do I want to talk about skiing and snowboarding every week, because that's boring to me. I mean, I enjoy doing it as a thing. I love it, but I don't want to talk about it. And I also don't think people want to necessarily read that, right? So I do need to find some clarity on that.
Yeah. I think for brands to have a quote unquote perspective, you have to do a lot of work up front. You have to know what you stand for. You have to have some sort of belief. There's a lot of brands that are scared to have a belief or scared to show their belief. And you have to kind of know, what are your pillars that you lean into so that you have a framework?
Yes.
Do you have that for Coalition? And does that help you decide what goes into Lady Parts? You can check a box and say it ladders up to one of these pillars.
Yeah. So that's something that I did at the very beginning of starting this brand. What are the values behind the brand? And everything that goes into Lady Parts is in that brand. And that's in our brand book, right? So even if we work with an outside creative or something, they get that, and the values are written down. And I don't think that I think we've refined and strengthened those values, but they're not different. So we've just been, again, writing and talking about the same thing for all these years.
Yeah, I can totally see the risk. Let's say you have a really notable creative director or even a founder, and you give them the reins of a Substack, but they don't have these pillars as guardrails. It could go in so many different directions, and it could almost be brand damaging if they're not adhering to guidelines. Have you seen that?
I haven't. I haven't. You see it in other things, not in necessarily Substack, but when you see one of the co-founders of Airbnb joining Doge, oops, that's bummed some people out. So you see that kind of stuff, right? But I would be very careful about that. Also, you need to be able to write well.
Yeah.
And that's that's for real, right? Like, you need to be able to write well, critically think, analyze things. Like, there's just, so yeah, I don't think you should just hand over a Substack. You shouldn't hand over any content to anyone who can't really create that really well. But yeah, yeah, you could get in trouble. I mean, I get in trouble all the time, but I'm always in trouble. I'm the bot, like, I'm used to being in trouble, so it's fine.
It's like you live to be a little bit in trouble.
Yeah, I'm always in trouble. Yeah.
I actually want to come back to that because I think that is what has made your Substack really interesting. But also the thing that you said about you just need to be able to write well is something that for some reason, and I'm a writer, so this should have been front of mind, but I hadn't put a finger on. There's a couple of Substacks that I followed from, I'm not going to name names, but luxury brands that brought in their creative director or leadership to do a Substack. And it was exciting because you get to see kind of the lifestyle of these people and like where they eat, who they hang out with. But I was so bored reading these. I'm just like, I don't care because you can't tell a good story. You don't know how to write. I can't follow. I don't know who you're talking about. Just be a good writer. And I think, it's not for everyone. Just because you live a glamorous life doesn't necessarily mean you should have a Substack.
Exactly. Well, and one of the things that Substack has added more recently in the last, I don't know, what is it, like 4 or 5 months, is the ability to send out video posts. And they really, so they like put their foot on the gas with that one when everyone thought TikTok was going to go away. They made this major push of like, hey, everyone, did you know you can come over here and publish your videos? So this is where I'm just like, a lot of us are looking at what Substack's going to do because it is so wonderful that it's a place for writing. But in the last few months, it's turned into a place for creators. And so I suppose if you have a significant following, you could be on Substack and not actually write anything. You could do more of the same of what you were doing on the talks or on Instagram with these videos. And I think, that's going to draw a certain type of person. Like, I know the person who's going to follow me, who's going to subscribe to what I do is because they want to read what I've written. And so I'm not worried about the competition with it or anything. Like, it's certainly not something I'm going to do. But if you were really, really good at video, that's certainly an option. I will say, I should have mentioned this earlier. One of the things I do in my newsletters as well is I record them. So I write them and then I record with my voice and I embed it as a voiceover so that if people don't want to read, they can listen to it. And I think so it's almost like a mini podcast. Yeah. And that has served me really well because I'm funny when I read my newsletters. I just am. If you've ever read my newsletter, you would know this. And I just think like it adds some life to the written word because also like I'll laugh at myself in certain places or like add emphasis where I need to. But that's again, like having that personality, like the brand has to have the perspective. They have to have the personality. If there's no one who could go and read it, I think that would almost be a test of like, is this interesting? If no one could read it and someone would be like, hell yeah, I want to listen to that, then I don't know.
Yeah. I think it also is just knowing your audience. That is how they're consuming content these days. My boyfriend gave me a Atlantic subscription for Christmas and I've been using the app and while I'm doing dishes, I just listen to the articles that I've kind of bookmarked all day because my reading time is so limited right now. So it makes so much sense that I could take the Substacks that I love. I would probably subscribe to more Substacks if more people did that. Because I don't have time to read them all, but I would listen to a bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, here's a hot tip. If you're listening to Substacks in the Substack app, if people have toggled the little button in their settings, there would be an automatic voiceover regardless, and you get to pick your voice. I think I had picked like a South African man or something, because why not? But I still record it and upload it as additional audio, but as you could do that. And so but you have to be listening in the app. So you have to be like connected to internet, right? Or
So
have
there's an
net
AI
network.
voice or there's Jen's voice.
Yeah. And so, but you can, a lot of Substacks, you can still listen to them, but it'll just be like AI generated voice, which is not nearly as fun. But
I mean,
mine's
that's what
really
The Atlantic is doing. It's AI generated, except for the
Yes, they
really
are.
big stories. So we're used to this now, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's not use AI for writing. Let's use AI for very practical things, like things that we wouldn't otherwise be doing, narrating every single article in the publications that we love.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about how you build a following, because the thing that, we haven't addressed is that you had a following before you started a Substack. You didn't start a Substack cold. You already had a pretty devoted following. And even though Coalition is a pretty small brand, you have, for as long as I've been in the outdoor industry, you've had kind of an outsized presence compared to the size of your brand in a very good way. And you're super vocal on the highs and lows of business. You've been a major force in the Reno business community. You do speaking. None of that just happens. How did you get here?
I mean, I spent many, many years working hard, and this was, it's funny because this was all before the pandemic. And then the pandemic hit and I was like, I'm tired. Now I'm tired, so I don't do as much. But, pre-pandemic, I was at the trade shows. I was organizing events within the trade show with Janine, for example, and Amanda. I was hosting my own events in the evening. I was speaking on panels. I was refusing to take no for an answer. I was getting on podcasts. Anytime there was an opportunity to public speak, I was throwing my name out there. So I mean, really like guerrilla marketing, right? Like I was just I put myself out there a lot, and I don't do that as much now. Primarily because, like you said, I have that following, and I don't have a huge following. Like my personal Instagram is only like 3,000. I haven't posted to my Instagram in months and months and months because Instagram's trash, as we all know. We still, obviously have an active social account for Coalition, the emails, but, I put myself out there a lot. I think that I started my business and started to grow my following in a time where it was much easier to do that organically. I don't know if that is possible now. For example, 10 years ago, you could grow your following on social media pretty substantially organically.
Yeah,
the algorithm has changed so much, you just want people to see your posts, your current followers to see the content you create, like let alone grow your following, right? And even it's fascinating too, because if you go and look at, in influencers, you'll even see like they might have a huge following, but their engagement rates are low. And you can see this anytime someone doesn't hide their like count. I live for this kind of data. Like I love I'm like, let's figure this out. And you're like, oh, this isn't really, it doesn't so much matter, right? But so I think that I was really lucky to have, worked super hard, put myself out there hard for many, many, many years. And also I put myself out there in a way that most women in the outdoor industry were not. And again, take it or leave it. Not everybody liked it, but you certainly heard about it, and that made, that helped.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just raising your hand, being available. Now, I think as business owners, especially, you have busy seasons where you're immersed in creating product and trying to get things into consumers' hands. It's being able to step away from the business and say, this creating of a profile for me as well as for my brand is just as important as getting product into consumers' hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think that there's probably, we probably missed out on some sales because I wasn't doing salesy stuff. I was doing the branding stuff, but I feel like where I'm at today is I just feel really fortunate that I have this well-established brand. Again, like we're very, very small. Like Coalition is probably one of the smallest brands in the outdoor industry, even after a decade. And I'm okay with that, right? But so we're really small, but you always know what you're going to get. Not a whole lot. I mean, you'll be surprised, but then you're also like, oh, I'm not surprised, right? And just like being really dedicated to building that brand for many years.
Yeah. What year did you start?
2014.
Okay. And Is the brand self-sustaining?
You mean like, is there lots of money? Is that what you're asking me by self-sustaining?
Enough money that you can just keep doing it season after season?
I mean, well, it has been, but it's getting progressively more difficult. I feel like, you know, we had our growth, we were, you know, launched, like, you know, and then the pandemic hit, and that was, what would that have been, like year 6? So kind of around, you know, and things were like okay in the pandemic for a bit, and then the floor has fallen out of the outdoor industry, as everyone knows. And I would say that like year after year, it's just getting harder. And right, like last year when I felt like things were kind of stabilizing, you know, now we have new authoritarian leadership in the United States government, and consumers are worried. Consumer spending is down. Consumer confidence is down. And we are likely to see ongoing and significant tariffs, which will increase costs. It's already beginning to disrupt supply chains. I don't think that consumers have yet to really see that. But again, like being on the inside of the industry, you hear things from people like full containers of parts being turned away at customs because customs doesn't know how to handle new tariffs on steel, right? So I think that like we're going to see, and again, like I don't know when this podcast will come out, but like we will see this. But yeah, I was feeling like, okay, we kind of have a handle on things. We're like beginning to stabilize after the pandemic. And now I don't know because I honestly don't know what business is going to be like. And I sell a very expensive product that is not essential, and that is not lost on me. And so I don't know, you know, I think that we will see if these tariffs continue and if consumer confidence is down, inflation is up, and we roll into a recession, as we might, if those things happen, or even if just one of them happens, I think you'll see a lot of small businesses that you love not operate anymore. And could we be one of them? Possibly. Primarily because I'm not willing to suffer over skis and snowboards. There are much bigger things in this world that demand my time. My purpose in life is not to manufacture goods. I can do other things. And I think, you know, at some point, if it becomes so difficult to sustain a brand through the product that we manufacture, I will pivot and sustain my brand through my brain, through my creativity. So I don't think that we would see like that I would disappear and you'd see me go away. But I think certainly thinking about like what a significant shift away from manufacturing might look like, because life is too short and I'm getting too old.
One of the ways that you weathered this kind of falling out of the bottom of the outdoor industry, and I'm glad we have time to talk about this because I think this is something that a lot of folks are thinking about, is you did a community care sale, which, you know, we sort of think of as like a pay what you can sale situation. And I think it was really effective, and you did it in a creative way. And I'm starting to see more brands do this as a way of clearing out inventory without big visible markdowns. Can you tell me what you did for this? What was the community care sale?
Yeah, so we're just, as of today, this is the last day of our second year of the community care sale. This is one of my favorite sales and things to market and promote. Imagine like feeling happy about not selling something at full price. Like it's possible because of just all the goodwill that is created the way that we do it. So there's different apps that you can use on Shopify. If you go search pay what you can find them in the Shopify App Store. Ergo is one. We're doing Magical Offers is another. And they're just simple apps that you pay a percentage or a flat rate. You install them on your site, and you can put them on all your products or specific ones. You set up all the rules, so you can have things automatically approved at certain discounts. But I have it set up where people get to make their offer on a pair of skis or a snowboard. There's some optional questions for them to answer around, are you a first-time gear buyer? Are you a veteran? Are you LGBTQ? Are you a woman? Are you disabled? Like to really understand, because again, like if you're going to be a brand that talks about diversity, equity, and inclusion, you might want to do something that fosters that. And yeah, it's just really cool. People submit an offer. And this is all heavily explained on our website. So literally anybody could go to our website and read through all of this. But we have this concept of a threshold that if your offer comes in above the threshold, it's automatically accepted. And then again, these apps send automated emails and process things. And if it comes below the threshold, then we review it. And we're very clear that, for any offer that's above the threshold, it allows us to accept a below the threshold. And we also set up a donation button so that people could donate, which people do, particularly like people who've maybe received, like got this sale last year. They're like, let me pay it forward. And here's $25 or $50. And it's just really cool because people write beautiful things in the notes and you have these wonderful interactions with customers. And after people buy their skis or snowboards, they, respond to that automated email that, of course, you all send to them. That's like, here's everything you need to know about your order and shipping. And, it's really remarkable. And I don't have to, do this big fire sale, which doesn't feel good. No one likes to do that. So, I think the way we do it is different than what I'm seeing other brands do. But again, I have a really different business. My products are $500 and $800. But it's been it really reinforces the brand, the values of the brand. And it's really fun to engage with people and it feels really good. And it's one of my favorite things that we do all year.
I think people, maybe other small business owners, their fear when they think about doing something like this is that everyone's just going to lowball you. They're going to come in with the lowest possible price and you're just going to be clearing things out at the same price you'd be clearing them out if you did markdowns. It sounds like that's not the case. What are you seeing when people are putting in their bids?
Well, we speak to this in the marketing and, don't try to fool us. We've built a brand, don't do it. But some people are really honest in their very low offers and sometimes we don't accept it and we explain that to them, and other times, that's why I have this notes section where people can really explain. And if people will say, I know my offer is really low, so I understand if you can't accept it. Thank you for thinking of me. So people are really generous in that way. If their offers are low a lot of times, and not all of them, but most. And then the people who pay above will also do the same thing of like, I'm so happy to see this. Let me pay a little bit more. I actually had this person is a longtime supporter of Coalition who's never bought a pair of skis, but this person comments, follows, does all the things. Bought a pair of skis, paid $100 extra for them, and he said, I'm going to put a pair of demo bindings on them and just let all my friends ski on these skis. It really, it brings out the best. Like, when you're generous, the generosity is returned to you, and it brings out the best in people. And some of those, really low offers that were below the threshold where people didn't offer up anything reasonable for why they would offer something so low. It just sits there and I never responded to it because I can. Yeah, because I can. So I don't even concern myself with it.
Yeah. So you get to manually approve or not approve, but if it's above a threshold, it'll automatically be approved.
Yeah, and that's just how I have it set up. So with these apps, you can kind of set it up any way that you want. I know what my margins are. I know what I like. So things that are above the threshold. And by the way, we do not reveal these to the public, and I'm not going to reveal that today, but we all know. And so when it's above the threshold, it's automatically accepted. And when it's below, that's what you have to review. So for a high volume brand, that's probably not possible. But again, when you're selling products that are like $500, $800, it's not like we have 2,000 offers coming in a day. It just doesn't happen. But I also think if you're a brand with smaller price point item, why not set your threshold low and just move your shit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful concept too, because just from a brand equity standpoint, you don't have to assign a value to your markdowns. You don't have to ever sell something for cost. No one has to ever think like, oh, what, these $800 skis are only worth $400 or whatever the actual cost is. And so it mitigates the brand damage that markdowns usually cause.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you move through a fair bit of product in that time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost sold out of certain key sizes and models. So I'm looking at moving into this spring with the least amount of inventory I've had in the last 2 years, which is wonderful because we all had too much inventory. So, yeah, I've sold out of key models and sizes. And, you know, we'll do the typical thing that you do, which is now everything will go on spring sale. But I don't feel this pressure to be like, oh, I have to mark those skis down to like $4.99. Like, nope, it'll just be a standard discount. And then I just, again, give myself this like runway until we launch next year's line. So, yeah.
Do you think you'll do the community carousel every year going forward?
I would like to. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine the only reason why we wouldn't do it is we don't have any inventory, which again, like, you know, moving forward into this next year, we're very conservative on our production, given tariffs and consumer confidence. So I don't know, you know, if we have the inventory, yes. If we don't, yay for me. I sold through everything during the season.
Yeah. Okay, we've talked about two kind of big key things that have moved the dial or may move the dial. We have yet to see on Substack, but have been, you know, passion projects for you. But it has been a wild decade. You've seen a lot in your 10 years of running Coalition. When you think about all the ups and downs that you've experienced, are there a couple of just small things that have moved the needle the most or had the biggest impact on the business?
In terms of what has impacted our business or the impact we've had?
Maybe both. I was thinking about what's impacted the business, but we can extrapolate it to the impact you've had.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like what has impacted the business the most, I think that, you know, like I said earlier, starting when we did, the timing of starting a women-owned and operated brand right at the beginning of like when women in business became really cool. Like it was the time, I had this feeling that something was going to happen, which is why I started the business. But then to see it happen was really wild. And I think because there were so many of us like starting to see more of each other, you know, what we created in those early years with our colleagues, with our friends, with our other fellow, you know, women business owners was nothing short of miraculous and beautiful. And I think really set women business owners up today in a way that I don't even know if they recognize. And there's always shoulders you stand on, right? But when I started Coalition, there were not really women in business, and we weren't really women in business. It's particularly in the outdoor industry. You didn't see them. You didn't think that you would see them. And there was a group of us, you know, in the early days, the Amandas, Janines, myself, you know, where we created this platform for other women to be a part of it. And it's continued on, and other people have taken over and they're doing amazing things. And that's been really, really incredible to see. And I think, you know, we both made that impact, but also bent like that we received that too. And so I think that was pretty significant. I mean, obviously you would never be able to not talk about the pandemic and how that shifted everything. You know, I think what I learned during the pandemic, like the impact it had on me as a business owner, was that there are things you could not work harder through. Working harder will not solve these problems. I think we're there again. And like really understanding what is it that you need to do. Is it just really getting down to basics? I think that impacted me a lot. I think just meeting like all the incredible people who I've met. Like one of the things that happened a few weeks ago is one of our ambassadors, we have a ambassador team, about 40 people, and one of them identifies as non-binary and was looking at something that one of our partner businesses was doing, and they didn't see themselves like, am I included? Can I do this? And so I reached out to that business owner and I was like, hey, this is, you know, we have this concern from an ambassador about not feeling like, are they welcome in this space? This is a women only space. And then it got that team to like, reimagine what it is that they were offering. And like within like a day, we like changed some language, got a blog together, updated some stuff. And now there's yet another business that's more inclusive and welcomes gender non-conforming folks. And so that not only profoundly impacts me to be like, holy shit, like look at what we were just able to do because of these great relationships and just calling someone up and being like, hey, can I talk to you? And but then also the impact that it has on people, participants in the outdoor industry to know that like, oh, I belong here. So that's been just to know that all those little things happen is pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, you do a lot of output, these really well considered Substack posts. You're creating content all the time. Where do you get inspiration, and more specifically, what's inspiring you right now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely have my list of Substacks that I follow. I definitely like, I'll read something and then I'll be like, oh, that one sentence just took me to a place, and then it goes into my notes and I think about it for days and days and days. I mean, I think in general, like continue to be inspired by like the modern outdoor movement that I think our friend Janine really was the one who said like, this is a thing. And to see like more brands coming out that break the mold of what it means to be outdoorsy. They're a little bit more metropolitan, maybe a little bit more polished, redefining what it even means to be outside. I get a lot of inspiration from that, from all of those different brands. I'm certainly inspired by a lot of writers who are putting good work out there.
Every writer has books and magazines that they love. Are there certain like more traditional authors who you get a lot of inspo from?
Yeah, I really like Roxane Gay a lot. She has a new book, The Portable Feminist Reader, that just came out. So I'm going to get that and probably encourage paid subscribers on both my newsletters to both my Substacks to join me in reading that. I really like her. I would say that Heather Cox Richardson, just in terms of like getting news. Liz Plank, who writes Airplane Mode on Substack. Cody Cook Parrott, who some people might know as Marley Grace. That's their former name. They're Cody Cook Parrott now. I've been subscribing to their newsletter and have read their books, and I really appreciate the way that they sort of move through the world and what they talk about. Yeah, there's so many. I can't even keep up. I mean, that's something for brands to consider too, just the number of Substacks out there that it's like so hard to even keep up with how many come your way.
So they better be good.
They have to be good. Yeah. They have to be good. And then I'd say like, this is going to sound cheesy, but like I'm inspired when I go outside because the world is heavy, and this thing that we sit in front of, the computer, I sit in front of it a lot. So when I read something by somebody that's really inspiring, someone who's like put things together in a way that surprise you, and then you can just like go skiing or go for a bike ride or do something and kind of like expand your thinking on it. And I will just add, like, I do this completely sober. I realize how if I did some drugs, it might be a little bit better. But I just feel really inspired by that. I'm starting to look more to like at historical movements and what got people through really tough times. Like even, like how do you resist? What have movements done? Like recognizing that we're at a time now that is not, it's unique, but struggle's always been there, so how can you learn from previous organizers, even looking at like who's writing about what's happening in Serbia today? What can we learn from Serbia? Like things like that, like even trying to get outside of the United States or even North America, and see what people have done.
Mm-hmm. What is the best piece of marketing advice you've ever received?
The best best piece of marketing advice I've ever received. God, you receive so much advice. I think, one of the things that that I have to remind myself is that consistency and patience are important. So be consistent in what you do and don't expect everything to perform, right? Yeah. So I guess that's also experimentation, right? So be consistent, send things out on a regular basis. You can't expect, for example, to launch a Substack, do one post, and then 3 weeks later, and then maybe a week later, the consistency, people expect that. Be open to experimentation, and that not everything is going to completely trend. It's not going to trend. And just in having the patience with that if you're not dumping a bunch of money behind something with paid ads, that there might, organic growth is going to take longer. And, what an opportunity to be able to sort of cultivate your voice and understand the type of following you want to have and take the time there.
Yeah. Okay. As mentioned, you have a million things going on and the snow season is just wrapping up. What is coming down the line for you, and what should we be watching for from you and from your various projects?
Oh gosh, I just sent an email to these snowcat operators in Georgia, the country. So I'm really excited about the trips I'm organizing for next year. I do believe that bringing people together is going to be really important for people to just sort of navigate this new world that we live in, and us all be launching more trips and looking at even doing some shorter weekend domestic things. So that would be a
bike and snow trips.
Bike and snow, and then maybe even just some chill trips. I think, I think that there's a demand for that, and even bringing business owners together, creatives, doing that. But yeah, I'm hoping to get this Georgia snowcat trip off the ground. So I'm excited about that. Our collection of skis and snowboards that we're launching next year, we brought on Andrea Slaslarski, that people might recognize as Drawing from Nature. She was our creative director for next year's line, and it is banger. It might be one of the best line of graphics we've ever had. So I'm super excited to launch that. And I'm very excited about that. And then, to be honest, I don't have a whole bunch of new things that we're going to do, because I don't think now's the time to do new things. I think now is the time to figure out what what's at the core of what you do, and do more of that. And I think that that's what people will see us do, is just leaning into us and doing those core things in the next year and maybe longer, rather than launching anything new.
Awesome. Jen, where should people find you online?
People can go to coalitionsnow.com. You can find us on Substack under Coalition Snow as well. The publication name is Lady Parts. If you want to spend time on social media, I guess you can do that. Again, Coalition Snow. And then my personal Substack is called Redefining Radical. And you could just search for my name, Jen Gurecki, and you can find that there too.
Amazing. Thank you. I'm excited to read this next post. I'm excited to read all your posts. So thanks for the work you're doing.
Thanks for
sharing.